Vendors, a round of applause. They're doing a fantastic job. What we want you to understand, first of all, is everybody who's participating, no one is being paid, so they're giving of themselves and their time. So let's thank everybody who's helping us as well. Now, I will not be long, but it's very important that you hear as I talk for a few minutes. If you notice, we're celebrating what is called Juneteenth. Juneteenth, I know to some of you it may be new to you, for most of you you've heard of it and you know what it is. And let me just take a couple of minutes to explain. And this is to African American as well as Latinos. In 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation, which means President Abraham Lincoln signed a bill to free all slaves. All slaves were freed except those who lived in Texas. And because they lived in Texas, word did not get to them until 2 years later. That word came to them on June 19th, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. The slaves in Texas were so happy that their freedom came, and also angry that their freedom came much later, they decided to call the date Juneteenth. And every year in parts of the country they celebrate Juneteenth. Now let me tell you how that relates to today. Because when the slaves talked about Juneteenth, they talked about freedom, they talked about the future, and they talked about the importance of education. So we're here today to talk about freedom, that you are free. We're here to talk about the importance of education, and also we want to have some fun. So that's what Juneteenth is. Now, our purpose for being is that we have some issues that must be dealt with in Lakewood. Has to do with our school system. And we strongly feel that African American and Latino kids are being shortchanged because they're not getting the things they need to be properly educated. So we're showing our unity to come together. And what I want us to understand, even though our languages may be different, our complexion may be different, if you're African American and you're Latino, Mexicans, Puerto Rican, Ecuadorians, you were part of the slave trade in 1863. You were part of it. Your ancestors were part of that slave trade. So don't think that because you came over 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, it doesn't affect you. It affects all of us. So that's why we're here. Again, let me talk about the importance of education. Young people, we want you to understand how you're going to need a job, and the more education you get, the better job you'll have to be able to take care of yourself. We have an organization called Unite. Unite has been working and struggling in Lakewood for the last umpteen years to make things happen. Finally, things are happening where the State Department is beginning to listen to us about the education of our children. What we want you to do when we have something, we want you to continue to come out and support us. There's a Board of Education meeting on June 26th. We want to pack the house again. So if you're here, we want you to be there. Now long before, and I'll talk again later on, but long before all of us got involved, there are two trailblazers who kind of stayed with things that were happening. They were spokespeople at board meetings. They would raise sand, they would get on people if they were wrong, and they were champions for all of our causes. And we want to have a special recognition of two of those people. Now we understand that a lot of you helped, a lot of you were around, but there are two people in particular that we want to pay honor and homage to.
Translate. A lot of people don't understand. He's coming up on the stage now.
Okay, I think I'm gonna get a translator so we can make sure that those who are non-English speaking will understand what we're saying. Can I get a translator? All right.
Aquí estamos.
It's very important because we want all of us to understand what we're saying. So we're happy that we have Ramon. Ramon's going to interpret. So when I say, I'm going to pause, and of course Ramon will repeat it so everybody will understand. What I'm not going to do, I'm not going to go to the entire things that I just talked about because it'll be redundant. But from this point on, Ramon's going to interpret. As I was saying, the history of Lakewood and our Board of Education and what's going on, there were two people.
Lo que está hablando hoy ahora es que el asunto de la escuela para los muchachos, pero hay dos personas
who often spoke out at board meetings.
Que hablaban mucho en los meetings de la escuela.
They would challenge Board of Education.
Siempre luchar por nosotros.
They would make sure that the things we needed to further our children's education were made possible.
Que ellos, esas dos personas, lucharon mucho para los niños de nosotros.
Now these two men that I'm going to bring out,
las dos personas que vamos a traer ahora,
it was not easy doing this.
No era muy suave para hacer esto.
Some people did not like what they were doing.
Alguna gente no le gustaban que estaban haciendo ellos.
However, they continued.
Pero ellos siguieron para ustedes.
I'm going to ask Mr. Jim Waters, who, by the way, Mr. Waters was one of the original members of Omega 13, Inc.
El señor que está llegando ahora aquí en la camisa azul.
Mr. Waters designed our first Lego and was one of the 13 men who met to bring Omega 13 to where it is today. And that was 34 years ago. And Omega is still going. Mr. Waters, would you come up, please? Let's give him a round of applause, people.
Bueno, ahora quiero una mano que este hombre fue que hizo muchas cosas por nosotros, por la canción de Omega, por tantos años, va a seguir luchando por nosotros.
Another young person who worked alongside Mr. Waters is Mr. Larry Simon.
El otro caballero que luchó con al lado de él es Simon.
Larry has been in Lakewood for a long time, more than I can remember.
Ella estaba aquí en Lakewood, New Jersey, aquí por muchos años que nosotros vamos recordando.
So I'm looking around for him, and we would ask him to come to the stage as well. Come on up, Larry. I hear you. I see you, rather.
Vamos a chequear la mano, porque ellos son los que están luchando con nosotros. Vamos a enseñar soporte, muchachos, vamos a ver.
Again, Mr. Waters and Mr. Simons, what they did was unheard of in Lakewood for a long time. They stood up for all the people who had issues with the Board of Education. They stood strong and to say stood tall. So we're going to ask each of them to say a couple of words, not long, because if you know Mr. Waters like I know Mr. Waters, he can carry this program for the rest of the afternoon and not say the same thing twice. And we're going to ask Mr. Waters and Mr. Simon. But we're going to ask, excuse me, Annette's going to do the presentation. Here's Annette.
Okay. If you attended Lakewood schools at any point in the last 20 years, stand up.
Si ustedes estaban en la escuela aquí de Lakewood, que fueron por la escuela de París, 20 años, párense.
These are all the people, as Dr. Rush said, that Mr. Waters and Mr. Larry, these are the people that when we weren't there, they were there. And we have them to thank for a lot of things.
Estas son dos personas que estaban aquí con nosotros cuando nos ponimos a estar nosotros para luchar. Ellos estaban ahí para luchar para nosotros y todavía que están luchando.
That's right, it deserves a hand clap. We don't have much, but we did want to recognize these two gentlemen. This is a certificate of appreciation presented to Mr. James Waters in recognition of your tenacity, commitment, and relentless dedication to equal opportunity and resources for excellence in education and the well-being of the Lakewood, New Jersey community. This is signed by Pastor Glenn Wilson, the president of Lakewood Unite. As Dr. Rush said, this event is sponsored by a coalition of various people. Everybody is Unite today, and along with the NAACP, Omega 13, the Lakewood Education Association, the Mexican Coalition, the CCA, and anybody, Lakewood Pop Warner, everybody, we want to thank, and everybody, let's get up on our feet, and the same reading is also for Mr. Larry. So everybody on your feet, and let's give an applause to Mr. James Waters and Mr. Larry Simon.
Le estamos dando dos placas a los dos señores que lucharon para nosotros, que van a seguir luchando para nosotros, sean puertorriqueños, mexicanos, colombianos, que sea. Aquí en Lakewood todos somos un grupo por estos dos señores que están aquí. Vamos a dar una mano bien buena a estos muchachos porque ellos están luchando por nosotros y a darle por lo que estamos pidiendo nosotros.
So our little helpers
Los ayudantes
are presenting to our representatives.
va a darle la placa a los presidentes, a los muchachos que están luchando para nosotros.
There you go. Again, let's give them a round of applause.
Una mano más, una mano bien grande, vamos a escuchar una mano bien grande.
Dr. Rush always tells me I only have a few minutes to speak. And most of the time I never know what I'm going to say. But I am very proud to be back here in the Lakewood community after being away for a while. And I'm very proud to see this kind of a gathering of our community. I've been following what's been going on in Lakewood in the newspapers. I am very proud of the coalition and what you guys are doing. It's very important that you stick together. Freedom is never given. Freedom is something that you have to fight for and work for. And it's very important that everybody stick together and do this. It's amazing that we're celebrating the 60th anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about Brown. Brown integrated the schools in America. Brown was the right decision. But Brown, too, was never implemented. We still have resource inequity in our school systems all over this country. Prior to Brown, the black schools had less money. They always had the hand-me-down books. They had the inferior buildings, inferior desks and chairs. If we ever reach a point where we give the school systems the right money to educate the youngsters, which charter schools and voucher systems are trying to take away from us, so they can select who they want to educate and forget about everybody else. Your education is the key to any kind of success you're going to have in life. Your children are able to become better educated. They will have better opportunities. We have to sell that point. We've got to convince our young people to work hard, work harder. And a theme that I always used to use, if better is possible, then good is not good enough. I want to thank you for coming out. I want to thank Unite and the other organizations, Omega 13, for recognizing myself. And I also want to take the moment to recognize Mr. Larry Simon, because I stood side by side with him for many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate the words. Unite is a wonderful organization. It's done marvelous things. It's doing marvelous things. It will do marvelous things. I'm proud to be called a member of Unite. Thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Bueno, ustedes lo escucharon, porque si acaso no entendieron que dijeron los dos caballeros que están aquí, que lucharon con nosotros. Miren primero a todos los juventud que están aquí, que van para la escuela de Lakewood. Miren los juventud. Pues estos juventud van a seguir cogiendo y cogiendo entre los otros. ¿Ok? So, estos dos señores que están aquí lucharon y vamos a nosotros señalar a ellos que cuando vengan ahora para la escuela a luchar, estamos presentes. Porque estamos ganando y vamos a seguir ganando. So, una mano a todo el mundo aquí, come on.
Now we'd like to take a minute to introduce this young man. This is Mr. John Leschak. He's an immigration attorney. Mr. Leschak will be set up on the side. If anyone has any questions immigration-wise, this is the young man to speak to.
Este señor que está aquí es un abogado para los que tengan problemas con los papeles de ustedes, eliminación o lo que necesite. Aquí está el señor para hablar con ustedes.
You'll be able to speak with him. It is safe, confidential. Questions and concerns, everything will stay amongst the two of you.
Lo que hablen ustedes con el Señor es privado, no sale de la boca de ustedes, es todo privado. Si tienen problemas con Cani Boni que están diciendo ustedes, si no hacen esto, te voy a llamar a la terminación. Mira, aquí está el abogado para hacerlo. Hablan con él, que le hacen los papeles, que le hacen lo que le quieran dar, porque aquí está.
Okay, please welcome Mr. John Leschak.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. As the gentleman just said, my name is John Leschak. I'm an immigration attorney. My office is in Freehold. Sí, buenas tardes. Mucho gusto. Gracias a la invitación a hablar contigo, especialmente gracias a la iglesia de St. Anthony Claret, en particularmente Alejandra por la invitación a hablar contigo. Yo soy un abogado de inmigración y mi oficina es en Freehold y en particular yo quisiera hablar con ustedes hoy acerca unas noticias acerca de programas de inmigración, en particular del programa de acción deferida o Deferred Action de DACA o del programa para los Dreamers. El presidente Obama empieza este programa en junio de 2012. De 15 de junio de este año, este programa va a cumplir 2 años. Y ahorita este tiempo, si tú tienes miembros de tu familia o si tú eres un niño con estados de acción deferida ahorita, entonces ahora es de tiempo para tú renovar este estatus. De semana pasada la inmigración reveló de formulario a renovar este estatus. So basically, just real quick in English, just saying I'm an immigration attorney. I want to talk in particular about the Deferred Action Program. President Obama created that in 2012 for young people here in the country. And if you have that status, or remember your family has that status, now is the time to renew. Last week, the government just released the new Deferred Action renewal form. It is now available. Aquí está la información más importante para tú, que tú necesitas saber acerca de este programa de acción deferida. Sí, primero, si solamente es posible hacer una aplicación o renovar tu estatus de Deferred Action, no más de 5 meses antes tu permiso de trabajo expire. Ok, si tú haces una aplicación o renovar este estatus más de 5 meses antes de permiso expiren, entonces inmigración necesita negar a tu aplicación. Pero en el otro mano es importante, no más, tú no puedes aplicar para esta renovación más de 5 meses antes tu permiso expire, o en alternativo de recomendación de inmigración no aplica menos de 4 meses antes de permiso expire. Ok, eso es una cosa importante. Una otra pregunta es, disculpe, ¿qué tipo de documentos tú necesitas incluir con tu aplicación para renovar este estatus? Y debajo de nuevas instrucciones de renovar, y tú no necesitas incluir documentos adicionales, solamente con excepción si tú fue arrestado o condenado para un crimen o un otro delito, o si tú has sido en el procedimiento de deportación. Eso es solamente excepción. So according to the new guidelines that just came out for deferred action, immigration saying you should apply no more than 5 months before your work permit expires. On the other hand, you should also apply no less than 4 months before it expires. And in terms of what additional evidence you need to include, there's no additional evidence you need to include, with the exception if you've been arrested or convicted of a crime, or if you've been put into deportation proceedings, in which case you need to include proofs regarding that. Hay otros tipos de programas también de niños, es posible de niños de calificar para acción deferida, calificar para otros programas de inmigración que es mejor. Por ejemplo, hay un otro programa de estatus especial para los inmigrantes jóvenes. Este programa es para los niños que tienen menos de 21 años que fue abandonado para 1 o 2 padres. Pero precisamente fue una casa de corte de apelaciones cambia de ley acerca de esto. En particular, debajo de esta decisión de Corte de Apelación de New Jersey, dije que es necesario ahorita demostrar que el niño fue abandonado para de 2 padres. Pero si tú tienes preguntas acerca de este programa, si tu niño califica por este estatus, porque este programa es un camino a un green card también, y eventualmente a ciudadanía en este país. Pero si tú tienes preguntas acerca de esto, de señor MC me dije que yo solamente tiene un corto tiempo, yo no puedo explicar todo a ti ahorita. Pero si tú tienes preguntas, yo estoy disponible atrás, ahí en una mesa, yo no sé exactamente, cualquier lugar atrás. ¿En dónde? ¿Debajo de árbol? Ahí. ¿Cuál árbol? Hay muchos árboles aquí. Es un bosque aquí. No. Bosque de Lakewood. Okay. Okay, so just wrapping up real quick. If you do qualify for deferred action, you may also qualify for other programs that are better. For example, there's the Special Immigrant Juvenile Status Program, which you may qualify for that too, but you have to be under 21 and abandoned by one or both parents. Now, those are basic requirements, but recently there was a New Jersey Court of Appeals decision that changed that requirement, saying that you have to be abandoned by both parents now. But if you have questions about that or about any other programs that your child may or may not qualify for, I will be available somewhere back there under a tree at a table somewhere. So look for me, okay? Okay, muchas gracias por tu atención y finalmente yo quisiera terminar mi charla dando gracias a Dios para tu vida de todas las personas aquí y para todas las familias y pedirle a Dios que bendiga a ustedes en tus familias también. Muchas gracias. I just want to close by saying I want to thank God for the lives of everyone here today. I want to thank God for yourselves, for your families, and I ask God to bless you and your families. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Please make sure you find him. If you have any questions, be sure to find him. Now I'm going to bring a young lady from Lord and Heart Counseling Services, Miss Mary Knapp.
Welcome everybody here today. Thank you for coming. Bienvenidos a ustedes que llegaron hoy a apoyar la comunidad de Lakewood. I'm bilingual. I'm actually speak 4 languages, so we'll do this English and Spanish. I'm an immigration counselor. Soy consejera de inmigración también. Estoy agradecido que la Iglesia de San Antonio de Claret me invitó hoy. I'm thankful that the Church of St. Anthony de Claret invited me here today. No voy a hablar mucho de todos los temas de inmigración. Prefiero que usted entienda solo que estoy aquí. Voy a estar a la iglesia un día a la semana con el apoyo del Padre Pedro, como usted lo conoce, ayudar a ustedes con su tema de inmigración. I'll be at St. Anthony Claret Church one day a week with the support of the church to help those who have immigration issues. Lo que yo quiero solamente decir a usted hoy es que es bien importante que sacamos a Dios y la sabiduría de Dios sobre los temas de inmigración, porque es un tema que muchos inmigrantes necesitan luchar y se sacrifican, y su dinero yo sé que usted no lo gana así fácil, que no se engañan y cuando van por ayuda, ¿ok? Yo tengo 18 años haciendo ese trabajo por la iglesia y esa es una de las cosas que yo veo diario, ¿ok? Just telling everyone that I'll be at St. Anthony Claret Church one day a week, and I think it's very important that we seek God and God's wisdom in all that we do in life. And the immigrant life is a life of survival for many, and making money is not so easy. So before you go ahead and retain somebody, make sure you're very careful as to them really helping you in your life. Okay, so voy a estar a la mesa también por un poquito de tiempo, y si usted necesita puede hablar con Alejandro Morales, a la señora que me invitó de la St. Anthony, y que usted le motivo y le doy ánimo que después de 18 años haciendo este trabajo, yo lo creo que es bien político, que vamos a tener una reforma. Es bien importante que usted se comience a preparar a lo mínimo por esa reforma, ¿okay? La acción diferida por los jóvenes, la ley de los 10 años, todos otros alivios sí existen, pero no por todo, okay? So just saying that there are some remedies out there that do work for some people, like the deferred action, the cancellation of removal, but I really do believe that we're going to have a comprehensive legal reform this coming year in 2015, and it is very political. Es más de un año y medio que cada día el gobierno habla de la reforma. It's been over a year and a half that the government speaks of this comprehensive legal reform. Le doy gracias y que aproveche ese buen día. Thank you for coming and enjoy your day. God bless.
And now I'm going to introduce another young lady that's going to share some information about the community, Miss Alejandra Morales.
Buenas tardes a toda la comunidad aquí presente. Mi nombre es Alejandra Morales. Les doy las gracias por haberse tomado ese tiempo y venir aquí, ¿verdad? Bueno, voy a ser muy breve. Y el interés más mío es que ustedes en verdad agarren el mensaje que hoy tanto la señora María como el abogado vienen a darles a ustedes referente a lo que está pasando con migración, ya que saben que este es un tema que a nosotros personalmente en nuestra comunidad con nosotros pasa mucho. Así es que ellos van a estar en una mesa ahí para contestar algunas preguntas, y también cualquiera de ustedes que quiera obtener su tarjeta para hacer una cita pueden pasar en la mesa. Por favor, yo les pido que aprovechen este día para poder tomar esa información, ya que como dijo la señora María, ustedes saben que muchas veces nosotros somos víctimas de fraudes, y eso es lo que un grupo de padres de familia junto con una servidora no queremos que eso siga sucediendo con nosotros. Muchas gracias, y también les dejo saber que ahí tenemos agua y comida para que puedan ustedes disfrutar algo. Gracias.
We want to thank all of our speakers. Everyone, thank you so much. Now, I know this is the moment we've all been waiting for. They're now starting to form in the line to eat. If you are going to eat lunch, please know you must have a red ticket. Not a red ticket, I'm sorry. You must have a ticket, you must be registered and have a ticket to eat. So if you have not registered, please see someone at the Omega 13 table. They will get you signed up, they will get a ticket in your hand, and you will be able to eat. So with that said, I'm going to ask the DJ